built on trust, fueled by kindness, powered by Provisor. Welcome to the Ben Revak Mortgage Podcast.
Today I have the chance to sit down with Megan Weigel with Gallimore Homes, and we dive right into what's happening in our local Metro Milwaukee real estate community. We have a lot of fun with this podcast, and I'm sure there's something in here that can help you with either your home buying journey or your career as a real estate agent.
What are the biggest changes in buyer behavior that you've seen so far in 2025?
Well, as 2025 is coming to a close, I have definitely seen buyers all year be more picky. I think in previous years, especially, 2020, 2021, it was whatever you could get your hands on.
Desperation almost.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so now buyers aren't just taking whatever they can get. They're looking for that actual feeling that they belong there. They're looking for the house that has everything that they want, or at least, checks most of the boxes. And they're being more picky, which I think they've earned it.
Yeah, after 5 years of the seller's market,
yeah.
I think we've all earned it literally. My coworker has like a record number of cameras cancellations.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that goes hand in hand with the shift in the market. Sellers have to adjust their expectations around how it's going to look when they sell. And there's this shift, and that cancellations are part of that shift that has to change.
Yeah. Well, and I think newer agents, we had a huge influx of agents in 2020, me and myself being one of them. And agents at that time never had to negotiate inspections.
Yeah.
They didn't. I didn't. I don't think the first 2 years I was in business, I even had an inspection to negotiate. I know I learned a lot the last 2 years having inspections, negotiating inspections, and working through that whole process. And that has led to a few cancellations, but it also has led to me learning how to better advocate for my clients and make sure that they're not just buying whatever they can get their hands on, but something that they can actually move into and feel good in.
I love that too, because helping out with that is something that I really enjoy, like being available throughout the transaction to help the buyer, the client, understand what are your options to negotiate. If your goal is to save money to do some repairs after closing, maybe a seller credit's the right fit. And so I love being able to model that, like in that breakdown where they can see, like, here's what a credit of $5,500 means to you.
Yeah.
And a buyer might look at that and be like, wow, that's worth way more than dropping the purchase price $15,000, because $15,000 spread out over 30 years, that might be $100 a month in payment, whatever it is based on your loan amount. But if you save $5,500 out of pocket today, that might have a more significant impact to their life.
Absolutely. And I've noticed that a lot of sellers, they get attached to that purchase price. Adjusting that purchase price is a big deal, but throwing a little money to the buyer at closing, that's not such a big deal.
100%. And negotiating is all about finding a win-win. And so if you can go into it with a win-win. I was talking to the number one producing agent in the state. A friend of mine, I play volleyball with him. You can just tell by talking to him how he looks at things, and he's always looking for a win-win. Very easy to work with, easy to talk to, realistic. And it makes sense that he does a lot of business because he's not adversarial in how he negotiates.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben, what market trends have you seen impact the sales right now?
That's a good question. Real estate, from what I see, the market in Southeastern Wisconsin, you really can't compare that to the bigger metro areas like Austin, Texas, Florida, California. So when you read in the news, market trends, things like rate trends, that's going to apply in our market. But when they say the market is turned and prices are dropping, well, that might be true in Florida. I haven't seen that in Wisconsin. I've seen a slowdown. Maybe we're not climbing like we used to be, but I don't think that we're seeing prices drop yet. I shouldn't even say yet because no one knows if they're going to. The trend that I see impacting sales is kind of like what we were just talking about, where we're seeing a shift in buyer sentiment, and seller sentiment has yet to catch up with that. I see a lot of sellers who they're still in the mindset of 2020, where they're looking for 50 offers on a house. We're not in that market anymore. I work mostly with buyers, and sometimes we'll have a buyer who's also has a home to sell, but I'm not so involved with the sell side of that. But on the buy side, it's helping them understand that they still need to be competitive, especially if there's multiple offers. Unless the house has been sitting for a month, they're probably not going to get an offer that far below list price in most situations. So having the right mindset of still being aggressive when they need to be, but being able to step back on the sales side and really have realistic expectations around what that looks like. You probably don't have 45 people that want to buy your house in September of 2025. That's just not where we're at.
Absolutely. And I think that comes with realistic pricing. A lot of the times I'll see homes that are priced significantly below market value as an agent, and just being honest and upfront with my clients before we even see those houses and say, hey, some houses are going to be priced significantly lower than they're worth. and some are going to be priced right at what they're worth. And we can't go into either of those homes with the same approach. We have to approach them where they're at and make sure that if we're going to that one that's lower price, that's when we have to be aggressive.
Well, yeah, and we just had one that we competed on all weekend. We ended up not getting it. And it was that situation. The agent likes to list well below market value. What do you think of that approach? I'm
not a huge fan of that approach. I think I work a ton with buyers. 90% of my business is buyers at this point. So my heart breaks for the, 10 buyers that didn't get that house and that worked all weekend to get that house. I would much rather have 2 other offers that I'm competing against, because then there's only 2 people missing out. So when somebody prices lower and you get 11, 15, 20 offers, that just crushes me, because that's so many buyers that got their hopes up that worked all weekend.
Is it a good strategy though, as a listing agent?
Great strategy. Yeah. As a buyer's agent, primarily, I have a trouble with it, but I respect it and I understand what they're doing. But I do think that if you're not able to have difficult conversations with your buyers at that offer writing and help them understand, hey, this house is not worth this.
It's worth 25,000 or 30 more. Yeah.
Then that's when you run into trouble.
I feel like in the last 3-4 years, it was normal to have buyers, no matter where the house was listed on the scale of value. Buyers would have to miss out on 2 or 3 before they realize, like, oh shoot, my agent's being honest when they tell me this house is worth 30, it's going to sell for 30, 40, $50,000 more than the list price. They'd have to offer 40 and lose to be like, whoa, that's actually the market. And I think in the slower market now, when you have agents that do tend to list well below value, it's harder to explain that to a buyer when one house might be sitting for 3 weeks and then the house that was just listed way below market, the buyer doesn't really have a way of knowing other than trusting their realtor. That gives a lot of value to folks like yourself who you are so experienced in knowing what the market is for any given house in that pocket. Because real estate is like hyper micro. Like,
I have a very high accepted offer to offers written ratio compared to some of the other agents in my area. And I think that's because of a simple conversation I have with every buyer before we go see any houses at all. I'm an agent that I don't go on showings unless we sit down and talk first, because of how difficult this market can be. And the conversation that we talk about is that every home is priced within a range. And that range is going to be the lowest it'll go for and the highest it'll go for. And it's basically the CMA that the listing agent runs to price the home. So for every house that I write an offer on, I pull that same CMA and I show it to my buyers and I say, hey, here's the range. See, they priced it on the low end. So we need to go to that high end. Sometimes it's like, hey, they priced it on the high end. We can just sit right here and be happy with where we're at. But I think it's really important to talk to your buyers about that so that they're not surprised when you tell them, hey, this is priced on the low end of its range and we need to go 25 above. You're able to show them the proof and say, hey, I've been in houses in this area. I've offered on houses in this area, and this is a 305 house, even though it's listed at 270. So you can say that confidently because you have the comps to support it.
That's part of the reason. That natural flow of buying a house is a big part of the reason that I built the total cost breakdown, because I would have buyers calling me 2:00 on a Saturday. Hey, we're trying to write an offer. What is the payment if we offer 290 versus 280? What I came to understand is that when a buyer asks, what does increasing the purchase price by $30,000 do to my payment? That's the question they're asking, but that's not really the question that they need the answer to. They want to see the relationship between purchase price and payment. If you just answer their question, it doesn't really let them see the relationship. When they have a tool that they can just plug in, like purchase price of 300 and see the payment, and then take that 300 and make it 295 and see the payment, and then make it 290 and see the payment. And then when you're helping them, 305 is probably where you need to go with an accelerator to have a real shot at this. They can plug that in and realize, like, oh, that's $45 a month in payment. That's not that big of a deal considering this is our dream house. And so I've just kind of stumbled into that truth of needing to be able to give people real numbers in real time. And so that's where the total cost breakdown really stemmed from.
Yeah, I love the total cost breakdown. I think that it's such a crucial tool when writing an offer. I pull it up even with buyers that are not working with you, because I need to be able to
I'm glad you do.
To help verbalize to my buyers what the difference $5,000 can make. Because to a seller, that can be the difference between accepting your offer and not.
Yep.
And to you, it could be the difference of, like you said, $40 a month.
Yep.
And if that's what's going to push us over the edge to win the offer, I think it's a no-brainer. And typically the buyers think it's a no-brainer, but $5,000 seems really big. But then when you break it down with the total cost breakdown, you're able to show that it doesn't make that much of an impact.
Well, I'm glad you're able to use it for any buyers. Helping the buyers is important, but I want to help my realtor partners, because if I can help you be more successful, that's going to come back to me tenfold, 100-fold. I don't even know. And so My focus really is helping people, helping the agents I work with, helping the buyers I work with. Doesn't mean that I have to do the loan every time, but the more that I can help people in our industry, that's a fundamental belief of mine that it's simply helping people. I want to help as many people as I can and be as helpful as I can. So I'm glad to hear that you're able to use it even when the deal's not a loan that Ben's writing.
Absolutely. And another thing I love about the total cost breakdown is it really shows the housing payment and then that cash to close, which is really awesome because some of my buyers don't care what the cash to close is. They have a good lump sum of cash, but they really care about that monthly payment. And I find often a lot are actually the reverse. They don't care what the monthly payment is. They can afford it because they're shopping lower than their approved amount, but they care about that cash to close and they want to keep cash in their pocket. I mean, working with a lot of newlyweds or people planning their wedding, we want to save that for the flower budget, for the catering, for the bar, all that stuff. So sometimes it's really helpful to see that total cost breakdown and see that, hey, let's add $10,000 to our purchase price and let's take $10,000 off your closing costs. That way you can keep all that money in your pocket for your wedding or for your dog or for your couch, whatever it might be. And it doesn't really affect your monthly payment that much.
Yep. I'm so glad to hear that because that's really the goal is educate the buyer so they can make an educated decision. And it's a win-win, right? Like they're getting what they want out of it. But until they can see how those different factors fit together visually, a lot of people are visual. So just telling them the numbers doesn't do the trick. Once they can see it, they feel so much better about it. I really believe it lets them write more aggressive offers.
Absolutely.
In real estate, like, I don't know what the buy cycle is from your average, like lead start to finish. I know some of them are like 2 weeks where we'll talk to a client who wants to make a home purchase. Like, yeah, we're looking next year. And then within almost 3-4 weeks, we're closed on their home. Yeah. We've had several of those and those are fun. But like, what's the average? How do you stay in touch with people over long periods of time to make sure that they're thinking of you when it comes time to buy the house? Because let's be real, like everyone's so busy now. What's stopping someone that you talked to a year ago from just going on Google and ending up calling Zillow?
I really hope that none of my buyers are doing that because sometimes those Zillow agents are not well informed. But yeah, I think that it's all about creating a genuine connection first and creating that relationship. And then, I mean, they'll tell me their timeline. And I work with a lot of couples and young first-time buyers who, are just gathering information at first. And that's totally normal. And I don't really want them to feel pressured to go buy right away. I like to create that relationship. We always create contact. We have numbers. We sometimes DM, stuff like that, where I'm able to stay in touch with them. I mean, and this is maybe not the best approach, but I ignore people until they tell me their official timeline. Sometimes their timeline speeds up because of life circumstances. Maybe their rent just increased, or maybe they're starting their family and their timeline does need to be moved up. But otherwise, I kind of just keep a brief hold on them and talk to them closer to their timeline. Like if somebody told me that they didn't want to buy until May, I'm not going to keep talking to them in November. They don't really want to hear from me. They want to live their life. And I totally respect that. So I'm going to let them go live their life. They know I'm here. They know I'm ready to talk whenever they're ready. But then in May, that's when I'll reach out. I'll reach out when they told me that they wanted me to reach out, just because I'd rather talk to them when they're expecting me versus every 2 weeks being like, hey, how are you? I want to talk to them when they're ready. So my hope is that with that genuine connection and them knowing that I'm not going to be hounding them for months, I hope that creates the safe space for them to be able to come to me if their timeline does change.
Yeah, that's so interesting that that's the approach you take. Mine is parallel to that, just in the lending world. Like there's some talking heads in our industry that really advocate, like you should be calling your pre-approved database once a week. And I put myself in the shoes of a home buyer. Like, do I want to hear my loan officer's voice once a week, just saying like, how is it going? Like maybe it's not going that great. And I don't really want to be reminded of that. Like the best ability is availability. You know this for sure. Like I am beyond available. Like if you need help at 8 on Sunday night, you got my personal cell phone. Like I'll pick up. Buyers don't need me to call them once a week. Like I've done my job. I've given them the tools when they have questions on the numbers or how something fits together. Or maybe they need to understand how an appraisal gap fits into their numbers. Mm-hmm. You can text me and you'll have an answer within 20 minutes, an hour, depending on the day. Mm-hmm. But for me to call them, like it just doesn't make any sense. And so that's really interesting that we've come to the same conclusion, like bothering people. Like, what's the point?
Well, and I've seen time and time again that when it's meant to be, it'll be.
Yes.
And I've seen people I haven't touched base with in maybe 2 months that said they didn't want to buy for another 4, reach out and say, hey, our family's starting sooner than we expected, and we want to be in a home in the next month. And we found this one, can we go see it? And that's the house. And I find that that happens more often than we realize if you let it happen. I think if you're constantly pushing and forcing and you're in their space, I think it creates this stressful environment versus allowing them to have those private, intimate conversations. I mean, buying a house is a huge financial decision, and I don't need to be up in that decision. I'll be here to guide you when you're ready. But until then, like, let me just be here. You can always text, you can always call, you can always DM. Otherwise, you guys talk about it. You guys decide when you're ready.
Yeah. Amen to that. Amen to not bothering people unnecessarily. It doesn't help anyone.
Ben, what technology or tools are you using in your business that have just become essential to you in 2025?
It's not AI. I'll tell you that. AI is great. Like, don't get me wrong. I use AI. I use ChatGPT. It makes me more efficient in my job. The pattern that I see in society right now of how AI is going to absolutely eliminate loan officers, like, I just don't see it. You're buying a house, you're negotiating with a seller, and you're going to like ask some AI tool on your phone a question and like put your trust in that. Trust is the foundation to everything in our business, and relationships are formed on trust. I just don't see AI replacing that. And so AI is going to let great realtors and great loan officers be more effective at their jobs and more efficient. I don't think it's going to eliminate jobs. And so the tech that I probably use the most is my iPhone. I mean, I'm texting, I'm on the phone constantly. It's communication. And so that's really it. I mean, I'm on my phone. There's no secret sauce. There's no magic bullet.
I would say ditto. I am on my phone constantly.
Yep.
I'm communicating, I'm texting. 90% of my work day is, doing stuff either on my phone or just in my email.
Yep.
And I think it'll make us more effective for sure, AI.
Well, I've learned from you, like using chat to write up email templates. That helps a lot and it saves a lot of time.
Yeah.
But I'm not using my Copilot to like send emails automaticly. Like that terrifies me. Like,
maybe we're just control freaks.
Maybe we are, but maybe that's what it takes to close a lot of business. There's no secret sauce. So you and I both like to tell stories. And I mean, I love telling stories. I could tell stories all day. But like, can you think about like how creativity plays into your job as a realtor and how like being creative around how you market yourself has led to your success?
Absolutely. I mean, social media is, of course, a really big topic around realtors and real estate. And all these realtors are just becoming, influencers essentially. And that's how they're going after getting business. And I agree to that approach. I obviously use my social.
Very good at it. Yeah.
Thank you. No, I just have fun with it. I don't really put any restrictions on what I'm posting or how often I'm making content or anything, because to me, it's more about sharing like my authentic life and like what I'm doing and showing that I'm out there being an active agent in our market, more so than just funny trends, I guess. But with that, I've been able to connect with so many people my age, which I'm Gen Z. I'm so sorry. But with being Gen Z, I understand other 20-year-olds, 24-year-olds, 28-year-olds, those people that are going to buy their first home. And I like to make it seem way more doable, because it is. It's more doable than a lot of people realize. And I think that there's a lot of talking heads, like you say, out there saying how it's not, and how, being a millennial or Gen Z basically means you're scared out of ever buying a house.
You'll never be able to buy a home. Like, most people can't actually.
Yeah. So I don't really want to talk about that. I don't want to talk about the market. I don't want to talk about stats and rates and this and that. I want to talk about me and how I'm doing my job effectively and hope that that draws people in. And one of the stories that I was just thinking about was our clients, like P&O. I don't want to share their names because obviously I don't want to like out them, but I had this client and she approached me on Instagram in my Let's Work Together form, which is always in my bio. She just filled it out and was like, hey, we want to talk about maybe buying our first home. We don't know if it's possible. And so I reached out to her, as I always do. And I was like, let's set up a time to talk, because I love to talk over the process with people, because just to make it seem less scary, right?
Well, you educate people.
Yeah.
And I think that is in your nature. And you know that unless you can educate them, it's not going to feel smooth for them. So
it's always a maybe until you know.
100%.
So I want to take that maybe and give them the right tools to get a pre-approval and start looking and feel like it's possible. So anyways, we were trying to set up a time. We couldn't get it on the calendar. Like, work schedules weren't lining up, and I'm never really pushy about it. I'm like, yeah, we'll find a time when the time's right. I wasn't messaging her every day. I was just like waiting for her to, find the time to want to meet, because again, I'm not going to push her into that. And she just messages me one day and was like, hey, I know we haven't met yet. This is our house. Like, this is our house. Like, can we go see it? And I was like, yes, of course we could go see it. Did you get your pre-approval? And she had already gotten a different pre-approval, but it was expired like a little bit. So I sent her to you. And what was that? Like 12 hours later, they had a pre-approval.
It's pretty quick. Yeah.
And we went and saw the house and they were correct. We walked in the door and they were like, this is our house. The second we saw it, it's so close to family. It's in the neighborhood we've always wanted. It's something that we can grow into. Like, let's get this house. And there was multiple offers on the property and we had to write a really competitive offer, but we were able to also work in a seller credit to cover some of their closing costs, have a full inspection where they got things negotiated from the inspection. And now, not even a month later from us first talking, they're sitting pretty in their house that they really wanted and that they got. That's one of those meant to be moments where you're like, are you kidding? That was perfect. So creative solution. I mean, I would never have found her. She said she looked up, Wisconsin realtor on Instagram.
Yeah, she searched Wisconsin realtor and found you.
Yeah, which I just still think is just crazy and incredible. And I hope that more people can find us that way because I think that, again, creative solutions to finding clients, it just allows us to show them the real process, like what I'm doing behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm sitting in sweatpants with my dog writing your offer. That is what's happening. And you can know that that's the real and genuine me. And also you can know that you can reach out at any time. I'm not this crazy, busy, too busy to talk to you person. Like I've always got time to talk to you. Like let's hop on the phone, let's text. I've always got time for you, which I think hopefully comes across in my social media.
I think it does. I've learned a lot from you. I mean, you are the reason I have social media. For anyone who doesn't know that.
Let's get that sound clip.
Yeah, you really are. I mean, you were like, I'm going in on social media. And if you're going to continue to be my lender, I need you along for the ride. So I'm like, okay, that was January of 2023.
Yeah.
I made an Instagram.
And I continue to tell people, hey, you know that bald guy on my Instagram? Yeah, he's the one that's going to do your mortgage.
That's awesome.
Or at least he's my top recommendation.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate it. And some people are pre-approved with their bank and they want to stay with their bank and there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm glad that you can still use the breakdown to help them understand the numbers because there's really nothing like that out there in the industry. Nobody else has a tool like that.
Which is crazy to me. It's such a good tool.
It's so helpful. I know. It's the interactive part that's missing in all the other solutions.
And the accuracy. I mean, I don't think I would have even bought the home that I'm in without the accuracy of being able to break down our monthly payment with the house that we got. That is what we used as our guidepost when looking at any house because we were looking at such a wide range of purchase price, but we were looking all over Waukesha County. And so we were able to find something with a lower tax rate that made us go way higher in our purchase price. And I mean, again, wouldn't have been able to do it without that breakdown.
It's as close to exact as you can get. It really is. It's as close to exact as you can get. What niches in the market have you found yourself, specializing in, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, it's actually really weird because I don't see many other people specializing in this, but newlyweds. I love it. I got married last year to my high school sweetheart when I was planning the wedding and getting all these different things, online or in the mail for bridal stuff. I was thinking, we just bought our first house and now we're getting married. A lot of other people are going through the exact same thing. How can I make it less stressful? And again, I followed the same approach of you're planning a wedding. That's really important.
Focus on that.
Yes, focus on that. And I will ignore you until you're actually ready. But a lot of people want to talk sooner than later so that they know, okay, with all this money that I'm getting as a gift or with saving for a wedding and a down payment, knowing the exact number of how much to save so that when they're planning their wedding, they can also plan for that at the same time. It's really helpful. And I mean, I love meeting couples that are around the same age range as me, buying their first home, getting married, and help them figure out the best solution. Maybe it is you buy before your wedding when you guys aren't married so that you can use only one income.
Maybe it's you get married before your wedding so you can use your VA loan in both incomes.
Exactly.
We've had one of those.
Yeah. And
Clubhouse wedding.
Exactly. So I think that time of life is just so exciting. And I love being a part of it, even though I'm just a fly on the wall in the background of watching, seeing my buyers that are pre-approved that, are posting on Instagram their wedding photos. And I get to be like, oh my gosh, you're glowing. These are so beautiful. And know that, in a few months, they're going to be buying their first home. It's so much fun. And I love just watching it all happen and unfold.
I feel like I've felt into the same niche almost naturally because I do take so much time on the front end to make sure that people understand the numbers and all of their options. Just like you educate people really well. Most newlyweds are buying their first house, not all, but most. And when you're buying your first house, you don't even know the questions to ask to get the right answers. And so it's really worked well for me because someone who doesn't know the right questions to ask, that's perfectly okay. I am the professional. I know what you need to know. And if you're not asking the right question, I'm going to find a way to show you the answer that you didn't know you needed to ask about.
Absolutely. And like you said, the market as a whole in the United States is so different everywhere you go.
100%.
But if you're trying to buy a home in Waukesha, Wisconsin, or in Brookfield or Greenfield or somewhere right around here where we're working and spending every day looking at homes and writing offers on homes, we're going to have the right answer for you. So, I mean, with my newlyweds, I always make like a group chat for us that is basically their best resource is that group chat. It's where they're able to ask their question and I will get them a response immediately of the actual real-time information. It's not, I Googled how much over I'm going to have to go.
Why shouldn't they ask ChatGPT that question, Megan?
Because even though ChatGPT will give a great response, it won't.
A very confident response.
Yes.
ChatGPT will know the answer.
Yes. But in our specific market, it's really important to have that information like, hey, I've been in 3 homes this week, exactly like what you want. It's out there. I don't want people to ever feel like they've missed out or they've lost their chance because that one house is gone that they fell in love with on Zillow. The perfect house is out there. What's meant to be will be. And I want them to feel confident over those months. Maybe they got a gift from family and they're like, hey, Megan, we just got this gift. What should we do with it? Or should we put it in a high yield? Or should we use it directly as our down payment? And that's when I usually throw them to you.
Or you can just call me. Like, again, if they're not working with me, that's okay. I want to help you. Exactly. So you call me because their lender didn't call you back for 3 days. So just text me. I'll get you the answer.
Well, and also sometimes they'll ask, hey, we were just curious. We saw this house on Zillow or on my MLS portal that you set up and we're interested. What does this, and this look like in the house? Mm-hmm. And I'll be able to get them an answer. And then one of my favorite things is let's watch that house. Let's see it close in 30 days and let's see what it closed for so that before you get into offering on houses, what houses that you like are going to.
So you can see the sale price after it's closed.
Exactly.
So you'll know if you were writing an offer and they pick a number, even though you don't write, then you can go back and see we wouldn't have gotten it because someone else offered $30,000 more. So you can kind of get a pulse.
Exactly. And that's that range that I talk to them about is I say, hey, you guys like these houses? Let's save them in your search so that we can go back and look at them as information pieces so that we can say, hey, this house that you like is worth this much and this one's this. And we can compare them to the ones that we're seeing in real time.
Education.
I can't say thank you enough for being here, watching and listening. If you find this helpful, please be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us. And you can find Megan at Megan's My Realtor on Instagram and Facebook. We'll see you next time.